When you get exhausted, that's when the negative thinking takes over. Like when you're full of energy and everything's going well, it's easy to think positive. But when you've got nothing left in the tank, when you're beaten and battered and bruised, when you've been almost choked out, when, like all of that, that's when the mind just it starts doing this stuff that isn't helpful. It certainly doesn't seem helpful. And so I've been working on another book, which I've not yet titled, but essentially it's it's about the martial arts path as a way, or the samurai path as a way of awakening. So it's almost like the warrior's meditation, but we focused on awakening or spirituality, right? Currently, I titled it The Warrior's Meditation for Spirituality. It may change. That's just a working title. But one of the things that's essential to the path of samurai is service. Like that is the core of their life. Like the actual word samurai means to serve. Of course, it means to serve your feudal master, who the lord of your province or whomever he has indicated you need to under him that you need to follow. And so, to the samurai, having being of service to this person or to your fiefdom provided honor and meaning. It was the whole purpose of your life. And so in the United States, for example, or in the West, are you guys familiar with the term Ronin?
Ronin.
Yes.
Ronin.
Yes.
Yes. Mm.
So in the West, we tend to think of this as like, these are really cool people, it's honorable. But to the Japanese and to the samurai, this was like, the lowest level of life. To be a masterless samurai, to be a samurai. Well, you're not samurai anymore, basically, because to be samurai, you're serving, but Ronin is not serving anybody. You've become Ronin because you were defeated. Your fiefdom was defeated. You were fired. You did something dishonorable, whatever. And so it's not even ordinary people didn't look on Ronin as being honorable. When we don't have purpose, when we don't feel there's meaning in life, life becomes very heavy. Can you see that?
Mhm.
And so service is very, very important. Like the worst thing you could do is retire on a beach for the rest of your life. You'll enjoy your Mai Tais for a while, but most people will start to feel very hollow very quickly. They might be able to pay for entertainment and stuff, but that's very temporary. And you're probably not dreaming well. You're probably not feeling great when you look yourself in the mirror, right? Your life feels vapid and hollow. So service is just essential for human beings. I'm just saying what is required for us to continue living with a sense of purpose and meaning so that our lives don't become miserable. And so I'm sharing these ideas as I'm writing. And I remember my great aunt. She lived to be 103. I would go and take care of her before I moved to Japan. Every week I would go and take her shopping and we would enjoy time together. And I did this for some period of years. But she can confess to me that she was in so much pain and she had no energy and she was just in a retirement home. She didn't have any purpose. Her memory was failing and like she even if she wanted a purpose, she couldn't do anything because she was, falling apart. But she confessed to me that she had been praying every night. She had been praying to die for probably the last 10 years. But can you imagine that burden? If you were in such pain, if you had no energy, if you had no purpose, every single action you take becomes a burden, does it not?
Mhm.
And so therefore it's natural then, it starts to be natural that your mind is going to question, why am I putting what little energy I have left into doing anything? What's the purpose of my life? Why should I breathe another breath when life is so painful? It's not that that person hates themselves. It's they're being tortured by life, effectively, not intentionally, but effectively. My aunt, my great aunt, life itself was a torture to her. Every moment was a torture to her. Can you see that? But it's added that she's totally alone because she can't say this to anybody. So she feels totally alone and tortured. Is that a compassionate society that would create that dynamic? A lot of people that are just suffering. They've not done anything particularly um, morally terrible, no more so than the average person, but society judges them for the thoughts that they have, for the desire to end the suffering. So this is what I was writing about. And I was paying attention to how my body was feeling and writing about death. So now my mind is naturally thinking about this. And it's a dark place to be, right? But it's a place that you have to go to understand the suffering of life and to understand the meaning of service. The meaning of service is also for you. It gives you direction and purpose. It gives meaning that can buoy you through the hardship. If you don't have that meaning and purpose, you have nothing to buoy you through the hardship. And so then the question came to me, how much of this feeling and the thoughts that arise from this feeling of life's difficulties and death and, it's better to die, like all these thoughts that are emerging, how much of this is stemming from the body's condition, the body's exhaustion? Having had my own wasting disease and dealing with it for 6, 7 years, there are times when it's so hard, like even to take a breath, it starts to feel like a hard work, right? To get up feels like a tremendous, like you've run a marathon. In such a case, these thoughts, like why continue, become rational, maybe even necessary. Like because your mind is constantly going to have to run a calculation for every activity that you do. Is it worth the energy that's going to go into it? And so I then turned it into an experiment. I'm overheated, obviously, and I intentionally stayed overheated so that I could go through this writing process and really see where my psyche was going. Because the only way you're going to find out is to be so exhausted. Do you see it?
Mhm.
And explore what arises as you ask these pivotal life and death questions. And you go to a pretty dark place, but it's also enlightening in a certain way. Then I poured a cold bath and I went into the cold bath and stayed there till my body cooled down. All that negative emotion was suddenly gone. So much of our negative emotion comes from the body's condition. If we could keep our body in a healthy condition, we might not experience so much negative energy. That includes eating well. That includes exercise if you can. Some people with a wasting disease couldn't exercise. So there's some conditions where you could eat better, but you can't exercise. Maybe you can't even sleep better because you can't exercise and maybe your body's in so much pain. But there are some things that you can do. You could cool your body down, right? You could expose yourself to experiences that are positive, that are lifting to the spirit rather than paying attention to a whole bunch of horrific news, right? We do need to know about horrific news, but if you're in that condition, you might avoid it, right? But what I see as a person who has been experiencing now currently obviously recovering from a wasting disease, but having had one for a long time, is that there's a very high percentage of the population, certainly in the United States, that is not doing much to tend to their health. And so they're going to experience a feeling of hollowness or vapidness or negativity that they might not need to experience, or that they could optimize their life to be highly positive if they were to recognize that exercise enables that eating healthy food in the right way, according to their body, helps with that tending to their relationships and keeping them engaging and keeping them compassionate and keeping them helpfully challenging enables a positive experience in life and so many other things. But we see these people and they're not doing it. We even tell them of these things and they don't do it. And that is groaning. That is groaning. That is a pointless life. I don't mean it's actually pointless, but the experience that the individual has of it is very shallow and may be consciously experienced as pointless when they look at it carefully. Do you see it?
Mhm.
But there's a lot they can do to turn it around. And when you have a mass of society, a high enough percentage of people in society that are essentially nurturing pointlessness or meaninglessness, the sense of pointlessness and meaninglessness. It's not to say that the universe is or is not pointless or meaningful or meaningless. There's no way for us to actually prove what it is, even if we've had insights into its nature. We have no way to prove it to anybody else, right? So the question is more or less, what is your perspective and what feelings is your body generating about life and what you can do about that. And it's not just about meditating. That's part of it. You can meditate to improve your outlook, your experience of life, and it makes a massive difference. But if you're not doing any of these other things, you're not necessarily helping yourself nearly as much as you would if you lived the way the body has evolved or the way the body is meant to live. We were not meant to sit in a chair. Like nobody up until the very modern circumstance sat in a chair all day long, right? We had to actually get out and go somewhere to get our food. We had to actually walk somewhere to do anything. We couldn't get into a car and drive or get on a jet and fly. You see it? And the fact is, our body, its condition, its health, its perspective, you need to physically tend to it, or you will mentally spiral out. You will emotionally spiral out, and you may spiritually spiral out. But it's hard work to take care of the body. It's hard work to lose your breath, to lift that heavy weight, to get up and walk 3 miles. It's hard work to do all these things. And it's much easier to play that video game. It's much easier to watch YouTube. It's much easier to do any number of other things, shopping online or whatever, right? And I'm not saying this as a means of judging others. These are all things that I've witnessed myself do, right? These are things that society that we could describe it as almost like the lords of society, the big businesses. They make money by you engaging in shopping. They make online, right? They make money with you staying at your desk using your computer, right? Engaging in their TV show or their advertisement. They don't make money when you're out there doing something productive, generally speaking. And so our society is actually, our social structure is funneling us into a health disaster. We have a health system that makes money off of us being sick. So we now give all kinds of pharmaceuticals to little children, things that we didn't do 30, 40, 50 years ago. But someone's making money off of that. And that's the incentive. But for us to awaken, we have to awaken to the fact that that's the ocean we're living in. We have to create a kind of insulation. We have to put in a little extra effort to optimize or potentiate positive experiences in our life. And doing so requires treating the body in a way that it can experience positivity. And that means challenging it. That means, doing those push-ups or doing the dance or whatever it is that you do as your exercise. Maybe for some people, it means actually you need to actually socialize with people physically. Some people are more introverted and they don't necessarily feel that way, but some people are very extroverted and they it's like a nutrient for them to communicate with people. We need to know these things and pay attention. The point I'm making is that I turned yesterday's experience into an experiment. As soon as I cooled down my body, all those negative thoughts stopped. Do you see what I mean?
Mhm.
That's what I mean by educating yourself. That's what I mean by challenging the training. That's what I mean by questioning. That you actually turn your daily life experiences into experiments so you can see before and after. So you can see what is and is not effective. We can share it with the world. And thus our training, our explorations become a service. And we're no longer Ronin. We're no longer masterless samurai. We have purpose, and that purpose can buoy us through the hard times. Do you see it?